If you live in North America, you have probably stepped outside late at night, taken out the trash, and been startled by a hissing, rat-like creature with glowing eyes staring back at you from the darkness. People call them trash cats. They call them pests. They think of them as creepy, disease-ridden scavengers that just wander around looking for trouble. But if you take a closer look at the Virginia opossum, you will not find a monster. You will find an evolutionary tragedy. You will find a creature that lives a life of such concentrated, high-speed misery and perpetual anxiety that you will wonder why nature even bothered creating them in the first place. Looking at an opossum is looking at an animal trapped in a biological speedrun of pure suffering. To understand the absolute nightmare that is the opossum experience, we have to start at the very beginning, which for them is a terrifying game of microscopic roulette. Opossums are marsupials, the only ones native to North America. This means they do not develop their young in a nice, safe, warm womb for 9 months, like a normal mammal. Instead, the mother's pregnancy lasts for an incredibly brief 12 to 13 days. That is less than 2 weeks. After those 13 days, the mother gives birth, but the things that come out of her are not really babies. They are essentially blind, deaf, hairless, translucent fetuses the size of a single honeybee or a small jelly bean. This is where the horror begins. The mother can give birth to up to 20 or even 25 of these helpless little jelly beans at once. But here's the catch. She only has 13 nipples inside her pouch. The second these microscopic creatures are born, they have to use their tiny, unformed front claws to drag their gelatinous bodies up the mother's stomach, crawling through a dense jungle of fur, desperately trying to find the pouch. It is a blind, frantic race for survival. The first 13 babies to reach the pouch and latch onto a nipple get to live. The remaining 7 to 12 babies who arrive late are simply out of luck. There is no sharing. There are no extra resources. The losers simply fall off into the dirt and die instantly, or they starve to death inches away from their siblings. Right out of the gate, nearly half of them are brutally eliminated before they even open their eyes. For the lucky 13 who do make it to a nipple, the ordeal is far from over. Once a baby opossum clamps its tiny mouth around the nipple, the mother's nipple actually swells and expands inside the baby's throat. This physically locks the baby in place. They cannot let go, even if they want to. For the next 2 to 3 months, they are trapped in this dark, cramped, sweaty pouch, completely fused to their mother, slowly growing while constantly jostling against 12 other siblings in a claustrophobic nightmare. When they finally get big enough to detach from the nipple and leave the pouch, do they get a safe den to play in? No. Their mother is a nomadic scavenger who never stops moving. So the babies have to climb onto her back and hold on for dear life. You have probably seen the pictures of a mother opossum waddling around with a dozen babies clinging to her fur. It looks cute, but the reality is brutally unforgiving. If a baby loses its grip and falls off the mother's back into the grass, she does not stop. She does not turn around to look for it. She does not care. She just keeps walking. The baby is left completely alone in the wild, crying out with a quiet sneezing sound until it either starves to death or is swallowed whole by a passing owl, a fox, or a neighborhood stray cat. The margin for error in an opossum's youth is exactly 0, but let us assume you are the luckiest opossum on Earth. You won the nipple lottery, you survived the pouch, you did not fall off the back ride, and you finally grow up and become an independent adult. Welcome to the real world, where your primary existence is just walking around as a slow, defenseless snack for literally every predator in the forest. You cannot run fast. Your top speed is a pathetic, heavy waddle. You cannot fight back because your jaw is relatively weak despite having 50 sharp teeth. So, evolution gave you one single defense mechanism, and it is arguably the most pathetic, traumatizing defense mechanism in the entire animal kingdom: playing dead. We use the phrase playing possum to describe someone pretending to be asleep or faking an injury to get out of trouble. It implies a conscious, tactical decision, but the opossum is not making a choice. When an opossum is confronted by a barking dog, a coyote, or a screaming human with a broom, they do not think, "Oh, I should play dead to trick them." No. What actually happens is a catastrophic physiological system failure. Their tiny brain becomes so overwhelmingly overloaded by sheer unfiltered terror that their nervous system effectively shorts out. They have a massive, involuntary panic attack that triggers a comatose state. They instantly collapse to the ground. Their body goes completely stiff. Their lips curl back to expose their teeth in a horrific rigor mortis grin. A thick, foamy drool leaks from their mouth. Their heart rate drops to almost nothing, and their breathing becomes so shallow, they appear entirely deceased. And as the absolute cherry on top of this anxiety-induced coma, their anal glands release a foul, putrid green fluid that smells exactly like rotting, diseased flesh. They literally become a corpse. This coma can last for a few minutes, or it can last for 4 solid hours. The truly horrifying part is that researchers believe the opossum might remain semi-conscious during this entire ordeal. Imagine being so utterly terrified of a dog that your body completely paralyzes itself, and you have to just lie there, unable to move a single muscle, while the dog sniffs you, nudges you, or even takes an experimental bite out of your leg. You are trapped inside your own frozen body, waiting for the terror to pass so your brain can finally reboot. It is not a clever trick. It is a biological panic disorder that they have to live with every single day of their lives. When they are not having comatose panic attacks, they are busy eating the things no other animal wants to touch. Because they are so slow, they cannot hunt live prey effectively. Instead, they operate as nature's garbage disposal. They eat rotting fruit, dead carcasses, garbage, and insects. They do us a massive favor by eating thousands of ticks every single week, acting as walking vacuum cleaners for Lyme disease. But their life on the ground is a constant struggle against the elements. Because they are naked on their tail, their ears, and their toes, they are incredibly susceptible to the cold. If you see an older opossum in the northern parts of America, chances are it is missing the tip of its tail or chunks of its ears because they simply froze solid and snapped off during the winter. They just have to walk around with frostbitten stumps, continuing their endless search for trash. Now, you might think, well, they eat a lot of gross stuff, so they must get sick all the time. Ironically, this is the one single advantage evolution gave them. Because their resting body temperature is unusually low for a mammal, it is almost impossible for them to catch or incubate the rabies virus. They are essentially immune to it. They are also highly resistant to the venom of rattlesnakes and copperheads. But do not let this fool you into thinking they are invincible, because what nature failed to kill with viruses and venom, it kills with time. And this brings us to the absolute saddest, most tragic part of the opossum experience, their lifespan. If a wild dog does not get them, if an owl does not scoop them up, and if they do not wander blindly into the middle of a highway to become roadkill, an opossum will be dead of old age before you even remember you saw one. They have one of the shortest lifespans of any mammal their size. In the wild, an opossum is incredibly lucky to live for 1.5 to 2 years. That is it. Their biological clock ticks at an agonizingly hyper-accelerated rate. By the time an opossum reaches its first birthday, it is considered middle-aged. By month 18, they are practically ancient. Their DNA just gives up. They do not age gracefully. It hits them like a freight train. In a matter of weeks, their immune system completely crashes. They rapidly develop severe arthritis, making every single step they take an excruciating chore. Their eyes cloud over with thick, blinding cataracts. Their 50 teeth begin to rot, decay, and fall out of their jaw, making it impossible to chew whatever garbage they manage to find. They lose weight rapidly, becoming walking, shivering skeletons wrapped in patchy fur. They essentially fall apart from extreme old age, while technically still being a toddler in human years. Evolution put them on this earth to clean up our pests, eat our trash, suffer continuous paralyzing anxiety attacks, freeze their tails off, and then rapidly decay into dust after just 24 months. So, let us review the Virginia opossum experience. You are born as a tiny jelly bean and immediately forced into a deathmatch against your siblings just to secure a nipple. If you survive, you cling to a mother who will abandon you the second you slip. Your only defense against the horrors of the world is to have a panic attack so severe You leak fluid that smells like death. You spend your brief life freezing, eating literal garbage, and avoiding cars, only to have your own body rapidly self-destruct and rot away from old age after 2 short years.
Evolution did not give the opossum a fair chance. It gave it a tragic, fast-forwarded sentence of anxiety and pain. So the next time you see that weird, hissing little creature near your trash cans in the middle of the night, do not chase it away. Do not throw things at it. Just leave it alone. Give it a polite nod, because I promise you, whatever bad day you are having, that opossum is having a much, much worse life. Be thankful you were born human. See ya.